Hello everyone and welcome back to Whiskey Wednesday. Apologies if I sound a bit different in this video. I'm feeling a little bit ill this week. I've got my very comfy hoodie on that feels like a giant hug. Luckily my nose isn't affected, it's more of like a headache thing. But today we are talking about Tamdhu 15-year-old. Camera, focus, come on, give me a break. Unlike the 12-year-old, this is a 46% natural colour and non-chill filtered product. If you check Tamdhu's website, they mention that on the 15 and the 18, but they do not mention it at all on the page of the 12. Now, I was a little bit, I think I was not harsh, but like quite honest with my review of the 12. Nice nose, really nice finish, but there just really wasn't much happening in the middle. I've had a couple of whiskies this year where the smells got me really excited and the palate's been like a bit disappointing, some of which I haven't reviewed. But one of which I have, but I cannot remember what that was. I remember the Hinch whiskey from last year. That was like interesting smell. The palate was like not there, and then I remember the finish tastes like vodka. Anyway, side rant. But here we have the 15. There's no additional history to tell you because we covered a little bit of it in the Tamdhu 12 video, but we have it in the glass here. It is a slightly darker colour. It's a little bit richer. Come across, it's got like a nice orange colour to it, whereas the 12 was like a little bit blonder in its colour. In fact, I've got the 12 miniature here, so I was keeping side by side. So you can see it's a little bit darker, and it is a natural colour, this one. We'll see if we can get a shot of the body of this whiskey, because it's been sat in the glass for about half an hour while I just kind of did a bit of cleaning. Gives you like a little bit of the idea of the body of this thing. This is a very well-reviewed whiskey. Well, actually, I'll strike that. If you Google Tamdhu 15 and you go into any whiskey company's website, the reviews are mostly positive, but there are some pretty bad ones as well. There's always a note of a talk of sour grape, and then someone complained because 46% isn't enough and it should be boozier. And I'm like, we'll leave that down to the company to decide it. They've offered it in a pretty natural presentation as it is. And I've actually, minus the tiny amount of this I tried when I first bought the sample pack, when I was gifted the sample pack, everything in this house I assume that I've bought if it's booze, but this was a gift from a friend. It's one of those things where you try them and you're like, oh yeah, that's good, but then it's been so long and it was such a small sample you don't really remember. But let's smell, let's taste. Okay, that's instantly more sherry. And again, it just says sherry on the label, so we're going to assume it's just Oloroso. Ooh, it does still have that brown sugar thing, but it's more baked. It's like taking a cake out of the oven or something, that warm, sugary, vanilla-y sort of smell. And there is a fair chunk of vanilla in this. It's really nutty. Get like walnuts and pecan nuts. There's a little bit of maple. So much richer. Already smells so much denser and heavier than the 12 does. Getting that classic sherry thing of like orange that's been like stabbed with star anise and beautiful kind of Christmassy cooking spices. I wish like YouTube could do like a smell-o-vision thing, because for whiskey reviews it'd be particularly useful. I'm dreaming of the future there. That's like a Black Mirror or a Philip K. Dick thing. But yeah, this is warm and treacly and toffeed and Christmassy. I cannot stop smelling sticky toffee pudding. With the dates and the figs and tons of like sticky sauce on top of it. Not getting any sour grape notes here. You must have had a bad batch. But yeah, if you like sherry and you like rich Christmassy stuff, stick Tamdhu 15 on the list. Okay, I've got two very contrasting things happening here. One is a literal continuation of everything the whiskey smells like, but with fruit added into it. Imagine you've baked like a pineapple upside down cake and you can smell all those caramelized sugars and like slightly charred caramelized pineapple and the cake batter and vanilla essence. All those wonderful things. But texturally, it is quite thin, which is odd, because I did read that in a review of this whiskey and I thought, 15 years, all sherry maturation at 46% with non-chill filtration. Surely it can't be thin. But it does come across as a little bit thin. Yeah, it does. That's really weird. Like, the taste is there. The taste is rich and sticky and beautiful. It is non-chill filtered. We don't know to what degree. There are degrees of chill filtration. The finish, gentle, warming, spicy. Much like the gentle and warming, much like the thing I went for when I put this hoodie on today. It's very comforting. It's very rounded and warm and cuddly. I know that's a weird word to use to describe a whiskey, but this is like a big comfy hug in a glass, this thing. It is a lot more expensive than the 12. Prices vary, obviously, but on Tamdhu's official website, the 12 is about 50, it's just north of 50 quid. I think it's £54. This is 93, so, you know, £39 more. And we are getting more flavour out of it, don't get me wrong. The thinness and the texture thing, I think that's a small point. Well, maybe not small, it's a point for sure. But it does smell richer, it does taste richer, the finish is richer. But when we think about competitors in this price point, £90, 15-year-old heavily sherried whiskey. Glenallachie 15 is a lot less, like 30 quid less. You've got your Macallans, obviously, they'll always play an important part in this conversation. Glendronach 15 has just gone through a price increase, but I think it's still just below £80 a bottle. I think I'd take it over this. Who else does big sherry stuff that's like in that price point that most people love? I mean, you can get an edged hour single cask for about 60 quid at 46%. But for you Tamdhu fans that may be screaming at me in the comments, maybe I'm just not that acquainted with this spirit, because the only Tamdhu I've ever knowingly had consistently, which is the wrong word to use, is independent bottlings, which were a combination of bourbon and sherry. But the texture on them was always pretty rich, pretty chewy, pretty thick. And I just don't get it with this 15 at all. But it does taste very good, and it does have a lovely finish. And the smell is pineapple upside down cake, which is one of the luxuries of the world, right? But what I will say is, I think I enjoyed, and I know I referenced it in the Tamdhu 12 video, but I think I enjoyed the Linkwood 12 more. Which on paper is less of the whiskey. Yeah, I think, yeah. Some of you aren't going to like this, or maybe you'll agree, I don't know. But I'm going to give that a 7.5. So I give the 12 a 7, I'm giving this one a 7.5, because it is more, it does do more. But it is quite expensive for what it is. I And again, as I said in the 12-year-old video, that production blip from 2009 to 2012, you know, that 3-year blip might be causing Tamdhu some stock issues, which may be why this is so expensive currently. But yeah, not really digging that. So thank you all for watching. That was a little bit ranty, but that is Tamdhu 15-year-old, and I'm giving that a 7.5 out of 10.